Hey everyone, my name is Dr. Stuart R. Miller. I've been in the trenches of medicine for decades now, seeing patients day in and day out, and if there's one thing that's kept popping up like a bad habit that just won't quit, it's this quiet, sneaky thing I call the silent damage happening inside you right now. Yeah, right this second as you're reading or listening to this, there's stuff going on in your cells, your blood vessels, your brain, your gut, stuff you can't feel in the moment, but it's chipping away at your health like water slowly wearing down a rock. You might be thinking, Doc, I feel okay, a little tired maybe, a bit achy sometimes, but nothing major. That's exactly the point. This damage doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It whispers, it builds, and by the time it finally yells, through a heart scare, diabetes diagnosis, constant exhaustion, foggy brain, or joints that scream when you move, it's often already done a ton of harm. I've watched too many people in their 40s, 50s, even 30s come in thinking they're just getting older, only to find out their insides are on fire in the quietest way possible. Today I want to walk you through this whole thing from the ground up. No rushing, no skipping the real talk. We're going to cover what this silent damage actually is, why modern life is practically begging for it to happen, the science behind how it wrecks you over time, the subtle signs you might be ignoring, the big diseases it sets you up for, and, most importantly, how you can fight back starting today. Because the truth is, this isn't destiny. You have real power here. Let's dive in deep, like we're sitting across from each other at a kitchen table, coffee in hand, and I'm leveling with you. First things first. The two main players in this silent damage game are chronic inflammation and oxidative stress. They're like evil twins. They feed off each other, make everything worse, and they're behind a shocking amount of what we call aging or chronic disease. Let's start with chronic inflammation. You all know what regular inflammation looks like. You twist your ankle, it swells up, turns red, hurts like hell. That's acute inflammation. Your immune system rolls in like the cavalry, fights off infection or repairs the damage, then packs up and goes home. Job done. That's healthy. But chronic inflammation, that's when the immune system never gets the memo to stand down. It's a low-grade, simmering fire that stays lit for months, years, decades. Your body keeps pumping out these inflammatory chemicals, cytokines like IL-6, TNF-alpha, CRP, and instead of protecting you, they start collateral damage on your own tissues. Why does this happen so much now? Blame our 21st century life. We're eating diets loaded with sugar, refined carbs, trans fats, and seed oils that our ancestors never saw in these quantities. Those foods trigger your immune cells to freak out. Add in constant stress, deadlines, bills, family drama, endless notifications that floods you with cortisol, which keeps inflammation on high alert. Then toss in lack of sleep. Most folks are getting 5 to 6 hours when we need 7 to 9. Sitting all day. Your body was made to move. Environmental toxins, pollution, plastics, pesticides, gut problems from antibiotics overuse, or crappy food that messes up your microbiome. It's a perfect storm. Over time, this smoldering fire does brutal work. In your blood vessels, it damages the inner lining, endothelium, making them sticky so plaque builds up easier. Hello, atherosclerosis, heart attacks, strokes. In your pancreas and muscles, it messes with insulin signaling, leading to insulin resistance, then type 2 diabetes. In your joints, it grinds down cartilage, arthritis pain that creeps in slowly. In your brain, it contributes to neuroinflammation, which shows up as brain fog, depression, anxiety, and later higher risk for Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. Even your immune system gets dysregulated, opening the door to autoimmune issues. And the crazy part, you often don't feel it until it's advanced. Maybe you're just always tired, or you gain weight around the middle no matter what, or small cuts heal slower, or you catch every cold going around. Those are whispers from the fire. Now, pair that with oxidative stress. Think of your cells as tiny factories, mitochondria cranking out energy, ATP. A normal byproduct, free radicals, unstable oxygen molecules with missing electrons. Your body has built-in antioxidants, glutathione, superoxide dismutase, etc., plus ones from food, vitamins C, E, polyphenols, to neutralize them, like firefighters dousing sparks. But when free radicals overwhelm the system, oxidative stress happens. Those rogue molecules steal electrons from DNA, proteins, cell membranes, turning healthy stuff into damaged junk. It's literally rusting you from the inside. Causes? Same lifestyle culprits: processed junk food, high in oxidized fats, smoking, vaping, alcohol excess, pollution exposure, chronic stress, which ramps up ROS production, overexercising without recovery, even too much intense sun without protection. Long-term, DNA mutations pile up, cancer risk, proteins misfold, Alzheimer's plaques, fats in cell membranes go rancid, leaky cells, mitochondria weaken, less energy, more fatigue, and faster aging. Telomeres shorten quicker, your biological clock speeds up. Together, chronic inflammation and oxidative stress create a vicious cycle. Inflammation produces more free radicals. Oxidative damage amps up inflammation. It's a feedback loop that accelerates everything bad. I've seen this in patients over and over. A guy in his mid-40s, decent shape, but just feels off. Labs show elevated HSCRP, inflammation marker, high fasting insulin, maybe borderline oxidative markers if we dig deeper. No big disease yet, but the train is rolling. Or a woman in her 50s with mystery fatigue and joint aches. Turns out her gut is leaky from years of NSAIDs and poor diet, leaking toxins that keep the fire going. What are the subtle signs you're dealing with this silent damage? Don't wait for the big crash. Watch for persistent low energy, that coffee doesn't fix brain fog, trouble concentrating, word-finding issues, unexplained weight gain, especially belly fat, joint stiffness or mild aches that come and go, skin issues, acne that won't quit, eczema flares, slow healing wounds, digestive weirdness, bloating, irregular bowels, food sensitivities, mood dips, irritability, low-grade anxiety or depression, getting sick more often, or taking longer to bounce back, sleep that's never refreshing. If several of these ring true, your body is signaling trouble. Now, the scary long-term stuff. This duo drives most modern killers: cardiovascular disease, inflammation, plus oxidation, endothelial damage, plaque, heart attack, stroke, type 2, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance from inflamed fat tissue, neurodegenerative diseases, brain inflammation and oxidative hits to neurons. Cancer, chronic damage mutates DNA, promotes tumor growth. Autoimmune conditions, immune system attacks self. Accelerated aging, wrinkles are the least of it. Frailty, sarcopenia, cognitive decline. But here's the hopeful part. This is largely reversible, or at least massively slowable. Your body wants to heal. Remove the insults, give it tools, and it fights back. Start with food. It's the biggest lever. Go anti-inflammatory and antioxidant rich. Mediterranean-style eating wins big in studies. Tons of veggies, fruits, berries, blueberries, strawberries for polyphenols, fatty fish, salmon, sardines for omega-3s that douse inflammation, nuts, seeds, olive oil, herbs, spices like turmeric, curcumin, ginger, garlic, cut sugar, refined carbs, processed foods, fried stuff, excessive red processed meat. Some folks do great with elements of keto or low carb, reduces insulin spikes, can lower inflammation if done right with veggies and healthy fats. Intermittent fasting, like 1608 or time-restricted eating, gives your system breaks from constant digestion, lowers insulin, IGF-1, boosts autophagy, cellular cleanup, reduces inflammation markers in trials. Move every day. Walking 30-60 minutes lowers CRP and oxidative stress. Strength training builds muscle, which soaks up glucose, fights inflammation. Yoga or Tai Chi for stress. Sleep 7 to 9 hours, non-negotiable. Poor sleep spikes cytokines overnight. Stress management, meditation, deep breathing, nature time, journaling, connection with people. Chronic stress is rocket fuel for both inflammation and oxidation. Hydrate, limit alcohol, quit smoking, vaping. Supplements can help bridge gaps. Omega-3s, curcumin with black pepper, vitamin D if low, magnesium, NAC for glutathione, but food first. Get tested. Ask for HS, CRP, ferritin, fasting insulin, glucose, HbA1c, lipid panel with particle size if possible, maybe homocysteine or oxidized LDL. I've had patients transform. One lady, 52, constant fatigue and aches. We cleaned her diet, ditched sugar, added greens, fish, added walks, fixed sleep. 6 months later, energy back, pain gone, markers down. Another guy avoided diabetes progression by going Mediterranean plus intermittent fasting. This silent damage is real, it's happening now, but you're not helpless. Start small, one change today. Swap soda for water with lemon. Walk after dinner. Eat berries instead of cookies. Your future self, the one who wants to hike with grandkids, travel, feel sharp, is counting on today's choices. I'm Dr. Stuart R. Miller, and I'm rooting for you. Let's beat this thing together. Take that first step. You've got this. Hey everyone, my name is Dr. Stuart R. Miller. I've been a practicing physician for over 30 years now, and if I had to pick one thing that I see destroying more lives quietly and relentlessly than anything else, it's what I've come to call the silent damage, the kind of harm that's taking place deep inside your body right this very moment, even as you sit here reading these words. You're not bleeding. You're not doubled over in pain. There's no sudden fever, no broken bone, no obvious crisis. Instead, what you might notice if you're really paying attention is something subtler. You wake up feeling like you never really slept. Your focus drifts halfway through simple conversations. Your waistline keeps creeping outward even though you're not eating more. Your knees or shoulders complain a little louder each year. Or you just have this vague, nagging sense that you're not firing on all cylinders anymore. You shrug it off. Busy life, you say. Getting older. Too much on my plate. But 9 times out of 10, that's not the full story. What's really happening is a slow, stealthy breakdown at the cellular and tissue level. 2 massive processes are running in the background 24/7, chronic low-grade inflammation and oxidative stress. They don't shout, they whisper, they erode, and over 5, 10, 20, 30 years, they stack enough damage to trigger the diseases we fear most: heart attacks, strokes, type 2 diabetes, crippling arthritis, Alzheimer's, certain cancers, autoimmune flares, chronic fatigue that won't quit. The tragedy is that by the time the diagnosis lands, a huge portion of the preventable harm has already been done. Today, I want to take you through the entire picture in plain human language. No medical school wall of jargon, just the real talk I give my own patients when we finally sit down and connect the dots. We'll cover exactly what these processes are, why they're exploding in modern life, how they quietly sabotage every major organ system, the early warning signals almost everyone misses, the science-backed ways to interrupt them, realistic daily habits that move the needle, testing you should ask your doctor for real patient stories, names changed of course, and why, despite how scary this sounds, you actually hold far more power to change the trajectory than most people realize. Let's start with chronic inflammation because it's the ringleader in so many cases. You already understand acute inflammation instinctively. You slice your finger-chopping vegetables. Within minutes, the area turns red, warm, swollen. Pain signals arrive. White blood cells rush in. Macrophages clean up debris. Growth factors start repair. A few days later, everything calms down and the wound closes. That's the good life-saving version of inflammation. Short-term, targeted, self-resolving. Chronic inflammation is the opposite. It's the immune system stuck in a half-on position, never fully standing down. Instead of a brief flare, you get a persistent, low-level production of pro-inflammatory molecules, cytokines such as interleukin-6, IL-6, tumor necrosis factor alpha, TNF-A, C-reactive protein, CRP, and others. These chemicals were designed to fight invaders and repair damage, but when they linger for months and years, they start behaving like friendly fire, damaging healthy cells, tissues, and organs they were supposed to protect. Why is this happening to so many of us now when our grandparents' generation seemed to escape it at much higher rates? The honest answer is that almost everything about contemporary living pours gasoline on this fire. First and biggest, the modern diet. We consume staggering amounts of refined sugar, high fructose corn syrup, white flour products, industrial seed oils, soybean, corn, cottonseed, grapeseed, high in omega-6 fats that tip the balance toward inflammation, ultra-processed foods loaded with emulsifiers, artificial sweeteners, and preservatives. These items don't just provide empty calories. Many of them directly trigger inflammatory pathways in the gut and beyond. Fructose, for example, gets metabolized almost entirely in the liver, where excess turns into fat and uric acid, both potent inflammation drivers. Second, chronic psychological stress. When you're in fight or flight mode, whether from a toxic boss, financial pressure, family conflict, doom-scrolling bad news, or just the constant ping of notifications, your adrenal glands pump cortisol and adrenaline. Short bursts are fine. Chronic elevation keeps immune cells primed and inflammatory signaling elevated. Studies show people with high perceived stress have measurably higher circulating IL-6 and CRP. Third, sleep debt. Most adults in urbanized societies average far less than the 7 to 9 hours we evolved needing. Even 1 week of sleeping 5 to 6 hours ramps up inflammatory markers overnight. During deep sleep, your body clears inflammatory waste from the brain via the glymphatic system. Skimping on that clearance lets cytokines build. Fourth, sedentary behavior. Humans evolved moving, hunting, gathering, walking miles daily. Now many of us sit 10-14 hours a day. Prolonged sitting reduces anti-inflammatory myokines released by contracting muscle, increases visceral fat, which is basically an endocrine organ that secretes inflammatory adipokines and slows lymphatic drainage of inflammatory mediators. Fifth, gut barrier dysfunction. Your intestinal lining is only one cell thick in places. Poor diet, repeated antibiotics, NSAIDs, alcohol, stress, and infections can loosen those tight junctions, allowing bacterial fragments, LPS endotoxin, to leak into the bloodstream. This metabolic endotoxemia triggers systemic inflammation that can persist for years. Sixth, environmental exposures, air pollution particles, endocrine disrupting chemicals in plastics, BPA, phthalates, pesticides, heavy metals, all activate immune pathways and keep the low-grade fire smoldering. Now let's look at what this quiet blaze actually does over time. In the cardiovascular system, chronic inflammation damages the delicate endothelium, inner lining of arteries. Once injured, the lining becomes sticky, attracting LDL cholesterol particles that oxidize easily, form foam cells, and build atherosclerotic plaque. Inflamed plaques are unstable, prone to rupture, causing heart attacks and strokes. HSCRP levels strongly predict future cardiovascular events, even when cholesterol looks normal. In metabolic tissues, inflammation blocks insulin signaling. Inflamed fat cells, especially visceral fat, release resistin and other molecules that make muscle and liver cells resistant to insulin. Blood sugar rises, pancreas overproduces insulin, eventually beta cells burn out. Type 2 diabetes. This process often simmers 10-15 years before fasting glucose crosses the diagnostic line. In joints, persistent cytokines accelerate cartilage breakdown while inhibiting repair. Osteoarthritis was once called wear and tear. Now we know inflammation is a major accelerator. Rheumatoid arthritis is overt autoimmune inflammation, but even regular OA has a strong inflammatory component. In the brain, cytokines cross the blood-brain barrier or signal through vagus nerve pathways, creating neuroinflammation. This manifests as brain fog, poor concentration, low motivation, irritability, depressive symptoms. Long term, it contributes to amyloid plaque and tau tangle formation in Alzheimer's, alpha-synuclein aggregates in Parkinson's, and general neuronal loss. Immune dysregulation from chronic activation raises risk of autoimmunity, thyroiditis, lupus, rheumatoid, and impairs surveillance against cancer cells. Now layer on oxidative stress, the perfect partner in crime. Every cell's mitochondria generate ATP through electron transport. A small percentage of electrons leak and react with oxygen to form reactive oxygen species, or OS. Superoxide, hydrogen peroxide, hydroxyl radicals. In balanced amounts, ROS serve as signaling molecules. Your antioxidant defenses, enzymes like superoxide dismutase, catalase, glutathione peroxidase, plus dietary antioxidants, vitamin C, E, polyphenols, carotenoids, neutralize excess. When production outpaces neutralization, oxidative stress damages lipids in cell membranes, peroxidation, proteins, carbonylation, nitration, DNA, 8-OHDG lesions, strand breaks. Mitochondria themselves take hits, creating more ROS in a vicious spiral. Telomeres shorten faster because oxidative damage impairs telomerase. Epigenetic changes accelerate. Triggers overlap heavily with inflammation drivers. High sugar, high fat Western diets produce advanced glycation end products, AGEs, that generate ROS. Smoking floods lungs and blood with free radicals. Alcohol metabolism produces acetaldehyde and ROS. Intense unrecovered exercise spikes ROS without enough antioxidant support. Pollution particles induce oxidative bursts in lung and vascular tissue. Consequences compound. Oxidized LDL is far more atherogenic than native LDL. Oxidative DNA damage raises mutation rate, cancer initiation, promotion. Mitochondrial dysfunction reduces cellular energy output. Fatigue, organ failure. Protein oxidation misfolds enzymes and structural proteins. Alzheimer's plaques contain oxidized proteins. The synergy is brutal. Inflammation generates more ROS. Activated immune cells produce superoxide via NADPH oxidase. Oxidative stress activates NF-κB and other transcription factors that crank out more inflammatory cytokines. It's a self-reinforcing doom loop. What does this feel like in real life before the big diagnosis? Patients describe it in remarkably consistent ways. Energy that crashes mid-afternoon, no matter how much coffee you drink. Mental sluggishness, names on the tip of your tongue, forgetting why you walked into a room. Weight creeping up despite eating the same visceral belly fat that feels hard and won't shrink. Morning stiffness that takes longer to loosen minor injuries, or sprains healing slower, colds and flu, hitting harder and lingering digestive bloating. After meals you used to tolerate fine new food, intolerances appearing, skin flare-ups, adult acne, rosacea, eczema, low mood or anxiety that feels chemical rather than situational. Sleep quantity okay, but never feeling restored. Any 3 or more of these persisting for months, your body is signaling silent damage is underway. The endpoint diseases are well known: coronary artery disease, ischemic stroke, type 2 diabetes, plus complications, neuropathy, retinopathy, nephropathy, rheumatoid, osteoarthritis, Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis flares, inflammatory bowel disease, psoriasis, certain leukemias, lymphomas, accelerated sarcopenia, and frailty in old age. But, and this is the part I emphasize to every patient, this trajectory is not inevitable. You can interrupt it, slow it dramatically, and in many cases partially reverse years of accumulated harm, because the body has remarkable repair capacity when you remove the insults and supply the right building blocks. Here's the realistic, evidence-based playbook I walk patients through. 1. Food, the single biggest lever. Shift toward an anti-inflammatory, antioxidant-dense pattern. The gold standard template is Mediterranean with tweaks. Base meals around non-starchy vegetables, broccoli, spinach, kale, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, peppers, zucchini. Add deep color berries daily, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, strawberries, highest ORAC scores. Include fatty fish 3-4 times a week, wild salmon, mackerel, sardines, anchovies for EPA, DHA, omega-3s that actively resolve inflammation. Use extra virgin olive oil liberally. Polyphenols like oleocanthal mimic ibuprofen. Nuts and seeds, walnuts, almonds, chia, flax for healthy fats and minerals. Herbs, spices generously. Turmeric plus black pepper, piperine boosts curcumin absorption 2000%, ginger, rosemary, oregano, garlic, fermented foods, sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, yogurt to support microbiome diversity, whole food carbs in moderation, sweet potatoes, quinoa, oats, legumes, if tolerated, ruthlessly reduce, added sugars and sweetened drinks. Refined white grains, flour products, industrial seed oils, check labels, swap for olive, avocado, coconut. Processed meats, bacon, sausage, deli meats, nitrates, plus advanced glycation, excessive alcohol, more than 1-2 drinks, day ramps, oxidation, and gut permeability. Many patients also benefit from time-restricted eating, 12 to 16-hour overnight fast, because it lowers average insulin, gives gut rest, promotes autophagy, cellular cleanup, and reduces inflammatory markers independently of calorie count. 2. Movement, consistent, not punishing, aim for 150-300 minutes, moderate activity, week. Walking is king, brisk 30-60 min daily drops HS, CRP, IL-6, and oxidative markers within weeks. Add resistance training 2 to 3 sessions a week, body weight, dumbbells, bands, to build muscle, which acts as an anti-inflammatory sink, myokines like IL-10. Mobility work, yoga, dynamic stretching, reduces mechanical stress and cortisol. Avoid chronic cardio overkill. Marathon-level training without recovery can spike oxidative stress. 3. Sleep, non-negotiable target. 7.5 to 9 hours in a dark, cool, quiet room, consistent bedtime, wake time, no screens 60-90 min before bed, blue light suppresses melatonin. If sleep is broken, address apnea, snoring, gasping, restless legs, or stress first. CPAP for apnea can cut inflammation dramatically. 4. Stress mastery. Pick tools you'll actually use. 5-10 mind box breathing, 4-4-4-4, guided meditation apps, journaling, prayer, forest walks, laughing with friends, limiting news intake. Chronic cortisol is one of the fastest ways to keep both inflammation and ROS elevated. 5. Environment and habits. Filter drinking water if local supply has contaminants. Use glass, stainless over plastic for food storage. Air purifier if you live in polluted area. Quit smoking, vaping immediately. Huge oxidative hit. Moderate sun exposure for vitamin D, or supplement if lab shows 8%. Ferritin, excess iron fuels oxidation. Homocysteine, 10-nemenyl-mol-L. Oxidized LDL or F2 isoprostanes if advanced testing available.